Hi Cancer and welcome to your horoscope for 2025. Thanks for joining me. Please watch my horoscopes in this order: rising sign first, then sun sign, and then your moon sign. And what I'm going to do in this horoscope is I'm going to look at the retrogrades of the personal planets in 2025, the 4 eclipses we have coming up, and also, amazingly, the 4 outer planets that are going to change sign in 2025. That's a really big deal. Outer planets move very slowly, and it's rare that they change sign. And they also impact society and humanity as a whole. So 2025 is going to look very different to the last few years we've just gone through. And they're also going to give a glimpse into the future, not just in 2025, but beyond, because they're doing exactly what Pluto did in 2024. It moved out of Capricorn and into Aquarius in January, then retrograded back into Capricorn for the last time in September, October, and November. And now it's in Aquarius until 2043. So it really signals a significant shift. And that's what these other outer planets are doing here in 2025. And they visit these new signs and then they stay in them for a much longer period in 26 and 27 and beyond. Okay, so let's start with the personal planets. We have Mercury going retrograde 3 times this year. Mercury is the communication planet, and when that goes retrograde, the downside of it is that communication and transportation becomes more stifled and difficult. The plus side is that you're able to see things differently and to consider options that you usually wouldn't consider. So the first retrograde is on the 14th of March until the 7th of April, and that happens in your 10th house of career. It also then retrogrades into your 9th house. So the first retrograde is going to allow you to consider your own working life and whether that's still where you want it to be or whether you want to make some changes. And then it also asks you to consider what else could you learn and what don't you know right now that once you've acquired it, that would help you in your working life. So what is it that you can study? It then retrogrades again on the 17th of July until the 11th of August, and that happens in Leo in your 2nd house of money. So that's great because the first retrograde asked you to consider your knowledge and your work itself, but now in July and August here, it says, what can you do differently so that you create an increase in your income and that you don't have to work as hard for what you're getting now? And also, what could you do and change so that you feel more fulfilled in your working life? The final retrograde then is from the 9th of November until the 29th of November 2025. And that occurs in your 6th house of daily routine and work, and it retrogrades into your 5th house of what you love. So again, the question is, how are the structures of my life, what's in place at the moment, and how can I change those so I'm more comfortable in my everyday experience? But then a very different topic appears, and it's what's really happening in my personal life. What is it that I love via other people? What is it that I love when it comes to work and what I'm doing in my career? And how can I identify what I really want? And how can I then build that into my future? Venus, the planet of love and beauty, that retrogrades once in 2025 from the 1st of March until the 12th of April. And I always mention that when Venus goes retrograde, it's not a good idea to start a new business or a new relationship, because your perception around what really works for you and what brings you joy and love is very different than when the planet is direct. And for you, Cancer, again, that happens in your 10th house of work. So first thing I would say is, if you're tempted to just throw in the towel and walk out the door of a job, don't do that before having something else lined up, or leave it at the very least till the 12th of April to consider, is this assessment that I've made over the last few weeks here, is that appropriate and right? I think during the Venus retrograde, it might be a good idea to journal and to see what comes up for you about your working life in particular and what you don't like. And then once it's gone direct, to consider making those changes or even starting something of your own if that's what you felt drawn to. Mars is the planet of masculinity and drive, That's currently in retrograde. It's been in retrograde from the 6th of December 2024, and it stays in retrograde until the 23rd of February 2025. So Mars is what you're not willing to compromise on, what you're willing to fight for, what energizes you. And with it being retrograde, usually I would say energy levels are lower. But in your case, it's in your sign, in your first house of self. So rather than galloping off towards getting everything done that you feel needs doing and that you've been told is super important, I think for you, it's a time to just step back a little bit and not to be as frantic about productivity and making sure everything's ticked off. It allows you to connect with yourself and to say, how can I take care of myself better so that I'm not just being pushed all the time and that I'm doing things which I actually enjoy and which may be sustainable, and how do I operate in a way so that I'm not overdoing it and I don't burn myself out. So I think that Mars retrograde for you is very different than the other signs because it's about self-care and assessing the situation and whether it's still suitable for you. Then we've got the eclipses, so they always come in twos. The first one is on the 13th or 14th of March, depending on your time zone. And it's a full moon in Virgo, and it's a lunar eclipse, and that takes place in your third house of communication, which is really interesting because in the traditional chart, the third house is ruled by Gemini. It's another sign that's ruled by Mercury. And Virgo is about assessing and analyzing the situation. And here, I think this eclipse is really going to show you what information or knowledge really is missing that's making your everyday life more difficult, and what is it that you need to study to get on top of things. And the thing about eclipses is that it's a new moon or a full moon, and because our process is interrupted, the energy lingers for around 6 months. So from March to August, September, I think for you is a great time to study, particularly to study things which are going to have a good influence on your working life. On the 29th of March, we have a new moon in Aries, and that's a solar eclipse. And this one happens, again, in your 10th house of work. And it sits in between Chiron, the wounded healer, you're transiting midheaven, and Mercury in Aries, and that's in retrograde. So this solar eclipse on the 29th of March and the next 6 months that follow, the question really is, what is my career all about? Is it fulfilling? Is it giving me what I want? Or should I maybe take a little bit of time to study something that I'm genuinely interested in that would have a better impact on my life, as in the income I create and how I feel on a day-to-day basis going into the office or working from home or whatever it may be. So what I'm seeing so far, Cancer, is that the focus isn't so much about family and other people here. The focus is taking care of yourself and saying, how do I tweak my circumstances so that I love what I do on an everyday basis? Then the next two lots of eclipses, first one is on the 7th of September. That's a full moon in Pisces, and it's a lunar eclipse. And let me go to the 7th of September. That happens in your 9th house, again, of education and travel, and it's in Pisces. So this is about, I don't think so much travel in a literal sense, as in I'm going on a holiday and I'm visiting a different country. I think it's about educating yourself via information you can access via the internet, libraries, academia, but it's also attending the University of the universe, so the Akashic records, and saying, what does the universe want me to know that I may have overlooked or that I'm not aware of, that I can now tap into and try a spiritual practice for that. It's lit up by the sun in Virgo, and that's going to make it very easy for you to take that knowledge and to build something with it. So I think Cancers in 2025 are very much about transcending circumstances that aren't ideal or no longer serve you, and acquiring the knowledge so that you can replace those circumstances with ones that you enjoy much more. And again, it's an eclipse, so it lasts until March, April 2026. And then on the 21st of September, we have got a new moon in Virgo, and that's a solar eclipse. And that happens also in your third house. You know, the third house is communication, it's traveling within your area. The ninth house is travel on a much larger scale. It's education through spirituality, broadening your horizons, and not just making little tweaks, but making big changes. So the big changes here via the eclipses that are available for you are education, but even changing your location. So if you've considered a move or a huge drastic change in your life, like a change of career, going back to school, retraining, the planets are really supporting you in that. So if you're feeling stuck and you're not happy with your working life, this is the year to make those changes. Okay, and then the outer planets. From the 30th of March until the 22nd of October, we've got Neptune leaving Pisces in your 9th house, and it goes into Aries in your 10th house of career. So that's a big shift. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, acceptance, considering what you're going to do in your next incarnation. Aries is the first sign. It's about, I'm here, what am I going to do with my life? How do I use all this energy to build something fabulous, right? And again, it's in your 10th house. So the question is, I want to work only on my dream. I don't want to work in a job that is there to pay the bills. So if you're in that kind of situation, you may find that it becomes somewhat uncomfortable to maintain that kind of situation. And if you're holding yourself back for whatever reason, I mean, one of the reasons could be, you know, that you have children and you're the sole provider and you have to do a job that you don't like. So it's not really an option for everybody. But here the planets are supporting you and they're saying, we're giving you the energy so that you can do the existing work and learn something new that would put you in a better position, so that in 25 and beyond, you're not just working yourself to the bone. It's something that you dislike very much. And you know, with these shifts of the outer planets, it is very, very significant because, for instance, Neptune takes 165 years to go through all 12 signs. So it stays in each sign for 13 to 14 years. And for you here, it's in the 10th house of work. So if you're a Cancer who's never felt like I've found the right job, these next 13, 14 years are really going to be the opportunity for you to heal your working life and to find that thing. Neptune is the higher octave of Venus. It represents humanity and society, what connects us. And in Aries, there's more of a focus and there's more outlet for creativity and innovation, the arts, healing. But it's also ruled by Mars, which is drive and a lack of compromise. So for you, it's the opportunity to break out of something that has made you feel completely trapped, and you have the power to kind of break the ceiling out of the way and to move on to the next level, to transcend what is. On the 24th of May to the 1st of September, we have Saturn going into Aries, and that joins Neptune in your 10th house. And Saturn is the planet of structure and security, and it's the planet that rules Capricorn, which makes sense, right? Saturn is foundation, Capricorn is work, inner and outer work. So if I want something, I work for it, and then I want to see a result. But with Saturn going into Aries, it's really the foundation and the structure is within me now. And I know that I can accomplish anything, and that I don't need to put up with stuff where I'm being abused or dismissed or taken advantage of. And particularly if I apply that to my working life, I can bulldoze my way through anything that stands in my way. You know, job application processes, being rejected, not having the right education, whatever it may be. And I am able to get there, but even more so, I'm not going to give up until I get what I want. So this is a whole new beginning. Saturn is a little quicker than Neptune. It takes it 28 to 29 and a half years to go through the zodiac. But going from Pisces to Aries, it's really, let's start a whole new 29-year cycle. And it stays in each sign for about 2.5 to 3 years. So Neptune and Saturn, both in Aries, are now really going to support you in 2025 in breaking through any of those obstacles when it comes to your work. But also, if you think of the outer planets as influencing society, in 1969 to 67 to 1969, Saturn was in Aries, and that was a time of major societal shift. You know, people saying, actually, I don't want to live the way my parents told me to. I want to be freer. But it's also Mars war, so there's major conflict during that time. So it could signal that there's more conflict out in the world, but in your case, the conflict is about, I'm not putting up with things that I don't like and that I feel powerless over. I now feel powerful. On the 9th of June 2025 to the 29th of June 2026, Jupiter moves out of Gemini and it goes into your sign of Cancer. So that is your Jupiter return. For Jupiter to change signs, it's not as significant because out of the outer planets, it's the quickest. It only takes 12 years to go around the entire zodiac. But let's say if you have Jupiter in Cancer in your natal chart, Jupiter then arriving in Cancer again, that's called your Jupiter return. And I always interpret that as it's going to be one of those years of your life that are luckiest, right? So with Jupiter now going into your energy, your sign of Cancer in your first house of self, it sits on top of Hades and the transiting midheaven there as well. So the things that you haven't been able to fix, and I'm sorry to repeat myself, but especially about your working life, or if you're a student or retired, what you've been working towards, Jupiter really expands everything. It's plenty, it's abundance. So you're able to, again, accomplish that and seize what you want and then benefit from it as a result of all of that hard work. And finally, on the 7th of July till the 7th of November, Uranus, the planet of the miraculous and the unexpected, that goes out of Taurus, where it's caused a lot of problems with money and securities, and it goes into Gemini. So where is Uranus? Yeah, it was in your 11th house of what are my hopes and dreams for what I can buy in future. And with it going into Gemini, it really illuminates your connection and heightens your connection to the higher realms. And if there are, I think that's the reason why you're able to make all these big changes in your career, because Uranus energizes you and connects you to source, your gut feeling, to the extent that it's a dialogue, and it gives you a lot of energy, and it says there's nothing that's off limit or inaccessible to me. Gemini is a doorway. If I apply myself, if I assess this intellectually, then I'll find a better way forward, and I'm not going to rest until I do that. So it's interesting that I'm talking to you, Cancer, like this here for 2025, because even though Mars is retrograde at the beginning of the year, I feel that this is your year to really make it happen, and you feel so driven. I haven't spoken very much at all about relationships, and the reason I haven't done that is because all of these planets support you in areas that are about taking on that role in life that you've always envisioned for yourself and that you may have not been able to reach in the past. So any Cancer who has really outrageous, huge dreams for their life, really take those seriously and see what you can do. The outcome is incredibly rewarding, to the extent where even things that you thought were never possible suddenly are. So the combo of Uranus in Gemini, we're going to see a lot of innovation and new things coming up in the areas of technology. So technological advances rather. AI is going to continue to grow. Social media will change hugely. The things that connect us. But again, together with Neptune and Saturn, expect societal change and expect the momentum and the pace to really pick up in 2025. And all of us are going to have certain freedoms because society changes that we haven't had up until now. So I hope that gives you an idea of 2025. It looks amazing for you particularly. If you'd like a personal reading with me, please get in touch via my website. It's gregoryscott.com. When you get to the front page, just click on the button that says book your reading to audio reading with me. In my personal readings, I use astrology, the tarot, numerology, as well as my intuition. To draw up your birth chart, I need your place of birth, date of birth, and time of birth. If you don't have the time of birth, then please order a chart rectification with me. That's a process where I can work it out based on 10 significant life events that you sent me. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, please. Hit subscribe for more videos. Please share it with anyone you think may like this video. And I also do a daily tarot reading on the channel, so if you'd like to watch that, please join and become a member of the channel. Have a wonderful 2025, and I'll speak to you soon.